there, and welcome to the Secrets of Organ Playing podcast. I'm your host, Vidas Pinkevičius. Welcome to Secrets of Organ Playing podcast number 72. This is Sunday, December 11, 2016. And our guest today is Domenico Severin, Italian organist living in France. He is a titular organist at the Cathedral in Meaux, and he plays the 5-manual instrument which was started by Valleran de Heman from 1627, very old instrument, but later restored by Gonzalez in 1980. It's all mechanical and the action is very heavy. So today in this conversation, Domenico will talk about his experience as Italian living in France. He is like Italian ambassador of Italian music, right, in France, and he loves to play some of the best and lesser known Italian composer music in his repertoire. And we talked about how different Italian culture is from French culture, how he adapts Italian music to French instruments. Sometimes he does the opposite. Sometimes he takes French music and goes to Italy and plays there on Italian instruments. And it's all connected because pure music, good music, will sound beautifully everywhere, although it's different, right? But the experience will be very spiritual. We talk about the spiritual experience during masses that he plays at the cathedral in Meaux, and also about his recording projects that he is planning for the next year. So I hope you will be inspired by this conversation to expand your horizon and think about the music more broadly, how it can move people in your congregation too. Let's go to the show. Thank you so much, Domenico, for joining this conversation. You're very generous with your time and your ideas. I'm sure we'll be delighted and inspiring. Thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you to you. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
Amazing. We're connecting through Skype, and you are in France and I'm in Vilnius in Lithuania, and yes, we're just 1 hour apart, right? It's such a small world, right? And we both share the same passion, pipe organ, right?
Sure.
So tell us for the beginning, Domenico, how you first fell in love with the organ when you were little. Can you remember the story?
It's a long story for me. I began to play piano when I was 5 years old. And then I studied piano for 3 years. And then I entered the conservatory and I changed completely and I entered as a violinist. So I studied violin from during 10 years. And I was a quite good violinist, but at the same time I began to play the organ at the church when I was 10 years old. And then the organ became my first instrument.
Amazing. Who was the first mentor of yours? Who introduced this instrument to you? What was the first encounter? Do you remember?
Yes, I think the most important person was one of my last organ teachers in Italy. He was a professor at the Venice Conservatory, Sergio de Pieri, and he studied in Italy, and when he finished his studies, he moved to Australia and stayed there during maybe 10 years or 15 years, and as organist at Sydney. And then he came back to Italy, and he became a teacher at Venice Conservatory. And I met him at an organ concert he gave in Italy, and I think it's at this moment I decided to become organist and to study with him.
Right. Is it safe to say, Domenico, that Italian organ music was your first point of reference? Not French, not German, not other countries, right? But Italian.
Yes, because I studied in a special period in Italy when the Baroque music was discovered, and the Baroque instrument, and I like this, and I like this kind of music. But I know that we have a lot of romantic music and post-romantic music in Italy, and it is never played, and I began to be interested in this repertoire. Mm-hmm. And I think the second most important person in the organ for me, that is Arturo Sacchetti. It's an Italian organist. He was the reference for this kind of repertoire for me.
Right. And when we say romantic and post-romantic, we say like early 20th century, right? Probably yes. Rovanello, right? You are referring. Yes. And Marco Enrico Bossi, right? Those organists and masters from the beginning of the 20th century, they are really very little known in the world, in the organ world, but you probably discovered them. Can you tell us what you discovered about those periods, fantastic instruments?
I played the first, I discovered the music, mm-hmm. and I played this music not in the good instruments, and it was nice music for me, but I don't understand it very well. When I discovered some really romantic Italian instruments, I begin to play this music like I think it should play. Uh-huh. I like this word a lot. I like this sound because I think the romantic organ in Italy is unique in the world. It is very different from French and from German, for example. Mm-hmm. And the music sounds very well in our organs, mm-hmm. special stops like violin, like imitation of the violins, big 8 stops foundation. This is very nice in the instrument of the Italy 19th century at the end of this century.
Right. I've been to Italy very recently, but in the region close to Adriatic Sea. Of course, it's not a very prominent region, well known in the world, but perhaps Marche region, right? And they do still have those historic instruments, especially from the 19th century. And I've played a couple of them and played some romantic sounds, also romantic music, and I thought they are very gentle, very sweet. Don't you think?
It's good.
Very singing style, very vocal style overall, Italian principles and other stops for me.
And you have also some more like French romantic, like a carriacole in Italy. Mm-hmm. Not loud, but the sound. Some organs, some are like carriacole. For example, Carlo Veggezzi Bossi. Mm-hmm. It is a very, very nice instrument, romantic instrument, very, very nice, big instruments too. I recorded many CD about the Italian music, and I used some really romantic organs and some post-romantic instruments too, big, like the big organ in the Messina Cathedral in Sicily, and I play, for example, in Sicily, the last works of Marco Enrico Bossi.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds really great.
I see. But of course, you live now in France, right? And you play the French instruments, right? Do you still play Italian music there?
Sometimes I play some Italian music. I want to play in. I try to play one Italian music piece in a concert if it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
For the early music, early Italian music or romantic Italian music. I want to do this, and if I can, I put it in the program.
You know, Domenico, I think you're absolutely right to play Italian music sometimes on French instruments as well, because like all beautiful music, pure music, right? Like Bach music, right? It transcends nationalities, it transcends instruments, and it can sound quite beautifully on different mediums and instruments and styles too. So I think you are doing a very wise work, including your national styles in foreign instruments, because people in France still need to hear Italian music, don't you think?
Yes, yes. Thank you, and I think you are right. In France, it is quite difficult to play not French music at the organ. We have here in France, we have a lot of beautiful, spectacular Cavalier call organs and romantic organs and the classic French classic organs, and it is difficult to play something other than French music. Mm-hmm. So. You're right. The good music sounds well everywhere in every kind of instrument, and I have to play my Italian repertoire too here.
Mm-hmm. You know, you're right, because the music, let's say, like from Verdi's time, from the 19th century, right? It has some special flavor, chromatic harmonies, right? A little different from the French tradition of the time too. And when you play it on the French instrument, it will sound, I think, different, right? But still convincing. Still convincing, don't you think?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the same for when I play some French music in beautiful Italian organs, for example. And it sounds different. César Franck or Vier or Vidor, it sounds different. But if the instrument is beautiful and well constructed, where the harmony is good, the music sounds well in Italy. The French music sounds well in Italy, and the Italian music sounds well in France.
Exactly, it's everywhere. I also remember at the same experience in old Italian organs. It was like maybe 19th century organ, one manual, short pedal compass, very, very classical Italian style. And I played their music of Johann Ludwig Krebs, German composer, and manualiter work, of course, chorales and preambles and variations. It still works. It's different from the sounds that you would play in Saxony or Thuringia, but nevertheless, it's still music. It still speaks to the listener.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And maybe it is this passage is easier with the ancient music, with the old music, because the language is more European language, not national language. So the instrument too is more European for music. If you have a pedal board to play back in Italy, you can play with the Ripieno Italiano too. It's good.
Yes, you're right. In Baroque times, instruments and especially composers had this universal musical language sometimes, especially the late Baroque style, right? The flourished and like Bach, Handel, and other composers, right? And when you transfer it to other styles and countries, it still works sometimes, especially of course if the pedal compass allows it.
Yes. It is important to remember that in the ancient tradition, I think to the Renaissance music, Italy was the heart of the music. So a lot of composers learn the music from the Italian composition, from Italian teachers too, and the style was the same in Europe, from Venice, from Rome, from Venice, and to the north of Europe.
Exactly. Those influences were transferred to the north, the countries, and
Yes.
in Sweden, in Germany, right, in Poland even, they played Italian music too.
In Romania too, with the Transylvania, with the Zarlino, and
It's very interesting. Vilnius, a Lithuanian capital, was very, very influenced by Italian culture, because in the 16th century and beginning of 17th century, a lot of artists came from the Italian regions by the invitation of the Grand Dukes from Lithuania to transfer this culture, to build opera theaters, to conduct operas, right? To build performances, and also to create music, to paint paintings, and build churches in Italian style. So people who come to, let's say, Vilnius, and they see our churches, it's like northern Italy in the northern part of Europe. So you're right, this influence was everywhere. Italian culture was everywhere.
nice. This is
Amazing. Domenico,
yes.
we are talking about those experiences, right? You're Italian, but live and work in France. You are sort of a ambassador of Italian culture, let's say, right? In France, and I'm wondering, for example, is French tradition, because of course you know the Cavaillé organs by now very well. Is it close to you now, the French tradition?
Yes, you said that I am the ambassador of the Italian music in France. I think I live in France from more than 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very well here. I work here, and I think I'm both Italian and French. And yes, I think the French music, French organ music, is in my heart too.
Mm-hmm.
Some years ago, I recorded the complete organ works of César Franck, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And I recorded also for the bicentenary of the Cavaillé. There's two CDs about only French music, Théodore Dubois, Saint-Saëns, Franck too. So I know this music, I think, from like a French organist.
Right. So Domenico, do you remember what was the first French organ piece that you played in your life?
Maybe it was César Franck. I don't remember which pieces, but César Franck was the first composer I played, and the first French composer I studied really very well.
Mm-hmm. Let me guess. Maybe Prelude, Fugue, and Variation. Maybe Pastoral. Maybe Fantasie in C. Maybe
Pièce héroïque, maybe.
Pièce héroïque, okay. It's not an easy piece to start, right? Was it challenging to you?
Yes, it was difficult because I studied it in Italy and I have not the good organ for playing this music at the time. And it was because I played this in a new Baroque style organ at the Conservatory, so it's strange for me this music, but it was the first. In Italy, before to begin to study the organ, we have to study the piano, and we have a quite high level in piano. So we can begin with the difficult organ pieces if we have good we are good
pianists, right? Piano technique always helps, right? Sometimes too much. Sometimes people can't get rid of the memory of the piano. It's sometimes it's dangerous, right? But for the majority of cases, organists should practice on the piano, don't you think?
I think it is no way to play organ today if we can't if we are not a good pianist before, because music is very difficult in the organ. You need a great and solid, sure technique when you play. So the piano is the first step to play the organ.
Exactly.
Maybe you should know also clavicembalo, harpsichord, maybe.
Harpsichord, yes.
But maybe I don't think. I think the piano is more important.
Especially for people who are interested in music composed after 19th century, right?
Yes, I can't think that an organist today should play only Baroque or ancient music. He must play everything from the early to contemporary music. So he's the most complete musician in the world, the organist.
Right. We as organists can command instruments which were built 300, 400, 500 years ago, and play music which was composed, let's say, 700 years ago. The first written down organ compositions from the 13th century, right? You remember this, or 14th century, Robert's British Codex, right? Italian music preserved in British Library. Fantastic collection, but it requires a very different approach than we have today, because those times are so distant, right? People were completely different.
Not only the people, but the world was completely different.
Yes.
we can't. They can't think that we can speak each other with the camera and from many kilometers. It is impossible. So the music, the music is very different. But I think we can. We have to understand their time, but play as in our time, because we play for our contemporary, for people of today. We play the music for the people who listened to the music today, not 300 years ago.
Yes, that's how it was always, right? Composers from the Baroque period, let's say, they did study ancient works from the 16th century, right? But they still, when they performed, for example, in the Baroque style Renaissance compositions, motets, let's say, or ricercars, they would arrange in a way that would fit Baroque language, right? They would make it alive using the means that they had at hand, contemporary means. So today, when we are living in the 21st century now, and we are talking about, let's say, 19th century Italian music, right? Or 20th century, beginning 20th century Italian music, like post-romantic, right?
Yeah.
Domenico, what do you think? How we should perform them today?
Post-romantic music.
Yes.
Ancient.
Yes, ancient romantic or post-romantic music that you love so much, but today on those 21st century.
We have the chance to have a lot of different kind of instrument organs. We can play on the real ancient organ. We can play the ancient music in modern instrument. We can play ancient music on the reconstruction of ancient organ. So we have to adapt the score at the instrument we have. The first things I think is this. And then in the 21st century, we have a lot of musicological studies about the ancient music, and we know a lot of things today that we can't know it 50 years ago, for example. And we have to play with the intelligence of this discovery about the performance, and with the intelligence to talk to the people of our time.
Exactly. So you say a lot of wise things. Let me repeat them so that our listeners from around the world would understand the importance of those concepts that you're saying. So today, yes, we have a very wide range of instruments that masters from the old time didn't have, right? Marco Enrico Bossi didn't have a chance to play, let's say, 21st century organ. No, not yet. Or did he play 17th century organs? Maybe in Italy, yes, but everywhere else, maybe not, right? So this wide range of instruments is available to us. And when we perform those ancient works, they are different. We have to adapt them to different situations, right? But at the same time, as you say, since musicological and organological studies are so advanced now, and we know so much about how those pieces were constructed and performed, and those organs, how they sounded, right? Perhaps we should also take into consideration what is known from the scholarly perspective. But since our listeners no longer live in ancient times, right? During concerts and masses and church services, we have to make them relevant for today's 21st century person, let's say teenager, right? Or who has an iPhone in his hand, right?
I think if you are an artist, you can play like yourself. You can play some Bach music in a new way today, because you know how this music should play. And you are responsible for yourself to play Suria Prelude and Fugue. You are responsible, and you want to partake a new experience with the public, and you can today. I think, for example, the most known organist for this kind of music is Cameron Carpenter. He has a really personal way to play music. Why not? Because a lot of people like his how he plays. So
exactly. He is very inspiring person for the generation that loves him, right? And sometimes, of course, he might be criticized for not sticking to the tradition, right? Not playing I don't know, works according to the historical techniques, right? Not like in museums, right? But guess what? He is a living artist, and maybe in 5 years or 10 years from now, his style and taste will change too. But he is playing today, right? And thinking today and interpreting those works today. Plus, he creates his own music, right? Which is a sign of a real artist.
Music is strange thing because it's not like a paint that we can see, and it is always the same. The music changes every time you play it. So today, in the 21st century, music is like we can imagine that it is the music. We can't know how it was played 300 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's impossible to think.
With some exceptions, right? Those mechanical organs or mechanical clocks, right? Which Haydn composed and Mozart composed. Handel concertos sometimes can be reconstructed from those mechanical clocks, right? With organ mechanism and pipes, and it's very fascinating to hear how they embellished ornaments, right, and passagios in those days in mechanical. It was like a audio recording of those days in 18th century, and we still have that.
But I want to say also that, for example, we have now some early recordings, for example, by Debussy.
Right.
The pupil of Debussy played the piano and the Debussy music in a completely different way than Debussy himself. So the evolution, we never play the music in the same way. With everybody changed every time, and the music changed.
Mm-hmm. Well, who else would know so much about the change, the nature of music, of passing of time than Debussy himself? His impressionist style was so different. One moment he would do one thing this way, and in another day, in another mood, completely different, right? Like all the good French composers and performers, right? Right, they were not very strict like the Germans, right? They would have this 1, 2, 3 style, right? And you should play this way, and this way. But the French always love variety, as well as Italians, right? Italian and spontaneity, this freedom, I guess. Do you feel yourself this freedom being Italian too?
I think Italian is really inspired by the freedom. I think, but I think we can say one word, c'est-à-dire it is le bon goût. I don't know if you can understand in French. It is a good taste. It is a for example, Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, he wrote in a treatise of the harpsichord, you have to play with, I think maybe it is in French, with bon goût, with taste the music, and you have to touch the public with your music. Mm-hmm. And I think German it is not so 1, 2, 3, but German is free in his way, in his own way, is free also, German people.
Right. Maybe where I was saying 1, 2, 3 about Germans is because of their love of polyphony. At some point, Italians were very fond of polyphonic music, polyphonic writing and imitative style. But then later it's changed, right? Since, I don't know, 18th century, let's say, to more like a Scarlatti style, right? A little bit. And Germans still remain this polyphonic style, contrapuntal style, and it's more strict, naturally, of course, than the French tradition or Italian's tradition. So it's not. I'm not saying that Germans don't love freedom at all, but they're interested in other things than Italians or French composers would be interested, probably.
Yes, yes, I understand. The music is the mirror of the culture, and I think the religion and the culture in the larger sense of the word is very important to understand why the music is different in German, France, and Italy, for example. The culture and the religion is until 19th century is very important to understand the difference between each countries.
Exactly. And then something changed. People started to play basically secular music as well on the organ, right? Although the organ was standing in the sacred place like a church, but then people started to play concert music, right? Like Marco Enrico Bossi, right? Or other composers from his time. They started create this virtuosic music for pure musical experience, right?
Yes, so we have, for example, in Italy, we have Marco Enrico Bossi, you're right, or Esther Vanello, for example, too. And we can have Raffaele Manari, for example. He was a very big organist and teacher in early 20th century. Or Pietro Alessandro Ion. He's Italian, and he was the organist of the St. Patrick Cathedral in New York, for example. And they wrote a really virtuosistic music for the organ concert, and very difficult. And it is strange to see the evolution of the Italian music, because in less than 50 years, you pass from the opera style, very easy and nice for ears, and you arrive to play some music that it is very difficult to play and to listen to.
Exactly. So no longer organ music is restricted to the liturgical means, right? But you could play like a pure musical instrument, virtuoso passages, right? And that was very, very evident in the French symphonic tradition, right? Because, of course, organ recitals were flourishing, right? And organ virtuosos were touring the world across Atlantic, back and forth from France, from Germany, and from Italy to America, right? So many new perspectives were gaining ground too.
Yes, and it is interesting to remember that this evolution it happens in the church, inside in the church. The organ is always in the church in our countries, and the organists they begin to play concert music, secular music in the church. A big organ symphony in the church. It is very strange because in the church we play only for God, but not for the people. But things change in the 19th century, and today we have here in Europe we have the great turn, the great changement. We have the organ go out from the church and interact in the concert hall.
So you're probably saying, Domenico, that in the sacred space, right, like a church, organist can play secular music, which is sort of strange, right? Strange combination. But don't you think, Domenico, that this strange combination is also very magnificent and grand because of the space itself? When you play, let's say, symphony on the organ, it never sounds like a joke, right? It never sounds like a dance in the ball, right? It might have dance rhythms, right, and influences, but it's a solemn dance. It's a very magnificent dance, or symphony itself. So that's the same with other organ music.
But for me, the strange is that, for example, Widor, Charles-Marie Widor, he played his symphonies at Saint-Sulpice in the big church, big acoustic, but his music is not religious music. I think it is very strange that he can do that, and the priest accept that. Why? It is a
I have a theory.
The church sometimes is a religious space, and sometimes it becomes a secular space.
You're right, Domenico. It is strange, but at the same time, it's understandable too, because all music, when we see it from the very deep perspective, it's all music, it's all spiritual. It's a composed music, and perform music is very spiritual experience, right? It calms your soul, right? And even though it is not based on Gregorian chant or Lutheran chorales, right, or any other hymns that people sing in churches today or ancient times, composers still ingrain those spiritual ideas in their works, right? Because it's the work of the mind. That's what's important about the organ.
I understand, but maybe maybe now I'm too much French, and you know that French is not a religious culture. It is a laical. I don't know the word in English. Sorry, laïque, and. Yes, I agree with you. The music is something from the mind, spiritual, exactly. But for the French people, the music, the mind is not the spiritual, is faith. And for this reason, I think it is really strange that we have some secular music in the church at the beginning. And it is not so strange that it's happened in France.
And yet, when people come to, I don't know, La Madeleine or Saint-Sulpice, right, to listen to the organ recitals of secular music, let's say, right, in churches, right, today Parisians, right, French people, they have a different perspective, different experience, very spiritual, I would say, experience than they would go to opera, let's say, right? Opera comique or other places in Paris, right? It's so different. It's all spiritual, I think.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it is here in France, in Paris, you have the organ recital with 1 hour of organ music, religious or secular music, and you have where you have a great organist during the mass, during the service. You have some great organ performances too, improvisation or repertoire. So things are mixed, a little bit mixed, and maybe people sometimes they don't think that they are at the concert or at the mass, but they are there to hear the organ.
It's true. Organist is one of the most important person who is creating this experience together with the priest, right? Together with the priest he is the highest probably educated person in the parish, entire parish. It takes years to study the organ and play the organ well, right? So the priest might go to seminary, but the organist also studies many years, and he is very educated. And when he play or she plays the organ during the mass, right? And not necessarily religious music, but still it's I don't know, it's spiritual experience. I would think.
Yes, it's at the end. I think it is a spiritual experience.
Yes,
it is a summary of religion, culture, and other things of life. It's a religious, yes, religious.
It's very good when parishes have this freedom of expression, right? When organists can play music from other countries, not necessarily from France, right, or from Italy in Italia, right? They could play German music, Dutch music, American music, right? Even Lithuanian music, right? Lutheran music in Catholic masses, right? Because it's all connected, because they all speak to the soul, I would say.
Yes. And the most moment, I think, in the service, in the religious service, is when the organist can improvise. He's a big, nice improviser, and he can play his own music. And his own music, he's a new world, and he can put inside everything he knows from the ancient music to the actual music.
Exactly. That's the best experience, probably, because then he or she can basically follow what the priest says, right? What the text of the liturgy is today, and illustrate. Some kind of musical sermon becomes created right under his fingers in the same moment.
Yes, it's true. Sometimes this is difficult for in the Catholic rite, because we have not too much time to play during the rite. We have a lot of time before and after, and so we can express ourselves in this moment. This is very good.
Exactly. If the mass is very busy and the organ is only tolerated, right, to play the chant accompaniments, let's say, and play brief interludes, versets, right, during communion, maybe offertory, but as organist we could take advantage before the mass and after the mass much longer.
Yes, and where in some important place like Cathedral or important place in Paris, for example, the organ is still important, and for example, I can play a long offertory if I want. Communion, I can play a lot. I can improvise. This is very good.
Yes.
The organ music became important, and the people listen to the organist.
Exactly.
And they listen to the organist, but also they listen to actual music, to new music. It is a way for the music education of the people.
So Domenico, you are a titular organist, right, in Cathedral of Saint-Etienne du Meaux, right?
Yes.
And how is musical life in this cathedral?
It is strange to the cathedral in the first is the place of the bishop, and but the normal life of the cathedral is the life of it is a normal life of a church. The community is a normal community,
right?
And so we have some important celebration with the bishop and a lot of priests and a lot of people in the cathedral. and the organ is important in this kind of moment. And we have the normal service, so the organ is important too, but I play less, you understand? Mm-hmm. Not so big prelude, not so big sortie, and I accompany the music that is chosen from for the assembly, mm-hmm. And so I have two kinds of way to play: normal way and high way. Understand?
Yes. When you have high celebrations, right? When bishop is in place, right? You play this grand music, right? From the great tradition of French repertoire.
I improvise a lot because you can't know when you begin, when you finish, what you can't.
Well, exactly, because beginning and ending is so free, right? You cannot really stop in the middle of the fugue, right? Improvisation is so important then in the liturgical setting today.
And improvisation allows you to play everything, every stops in the organ as you want, mix as you want, and this is very important for the people because they can hear a lot of different sound combination that you can do with the repertoire.
Mm-hmm. Do people in your congregation come up to you as an organist and say, "Oh, thank you so much, Domenico, our organist master. You played sortie so well. My spirit was and uplifted."
Yes, it arrives many times, and it's great for me to hear that.
Uh-huh.
So the priest many times tell me this or write me after a mass. Write me it was very well. Thank you very much for the service.
Right.
That's good.
It's very good to have this appreciation, right, for the organist, because as organists we are very lonely upstairs in the balcony, right, sometimes, yes. And we don't know how the audience or congregation, I don't know, appreciates or receives our message, right? And when somebody comes up to you and says, "Domenico, you played fantastically today. Play next time, I don't know, C major toccata by Bach, or improvise even something more strange," right? It's inspiring, right?
Yes. You think that you are doing the right thing at the right moment.
Yes.
This is important. Yes.
Your music then connects with people and moves them. That's the best way, right? They are not only listening analytically, right? Contrapuntal technique in the tenor, principal stops in the pedals, planjo in the hand, right? They are not thinking this way. They're thinking in terms of emotions, right? And if you move them, that's very powerful.
Exactly. The liturgical music is very different from the concert. So for the concert, you have to perform in the right way, a good program for a different kind of people. In the liturgy, you have to touch the heart of the people because they have to go from their life to God directly.
Right. Amazing, Domenico. So what are you working on today? What is your challenge today?
We are at the end of the year and I think to the new year. So I have many projects for next year, and I like too much to record CD. And I have some projects for next year of new recordings.
What kind of music will you record for the new CD?
For example, next year I wish to record some Bach music because it is the anniversary of the Reformation. So this is important for me. And this is one of the big projects. And another one is to record some contemporary Italian music, organ music, Because I think anybody know that some young people write music for the organ in Italy. Mm-hmm. So I want to record some good works for young people.
Oh, wonderful! That modern Italian music for young people, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Modern Italian music, right? Written from by young composer.
Young composers, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And they write so different now, right? Using those different techniques, sometimes avant-garde techniques.
I begin to discover this kind of music, and there are a lot of different languages, and it's interesting for me to work on this project.
Amazing, Domenico.
We have some very elaborate way to write the music. Maybe like the music of the postmodern music. Maybe you know. Yes. And we have some classical way to write for the organ, or some music that is very far from the classical music we intend it. It is like jazz music or other territories, and this is
exactly today in the 21st century. Our influences are so enormously tremendous and great in variety. As you say, we can be inspired by jazz music, pop music, theater music, but at the same time we could look at non-European countries, right? Oriental countries, Western countries, South America, Africa, right? Hindu music and Arabic music, and be inspired and take what we want from that and create something new.
It is fantastic because the organ, it is one of the oldest instruments in the world. It can play everything.
Exactly.
Of music. It's beautiful. Yes.
So, Domenico, we're getting close to our fantastically inspiring conversation today. And when you go back in time in your mind, you remember when you were 5 years old and you started playing piano, or a little bit later when you played organ, what would be the first thing that you would be doing today differently if you had a chance to repeat your life?
Ooh la la. This is a very difficult question.
I know. If we had a chance to do this one more time.
I think it was good. In my life it was good.
I see. Right. You don't have any regrets, right?
I'm a happy man, so it's
right. So people probably take away from from our conversation that, of course, piano is very important, right? Start piano playing as early as you can, right? And what else? Closing remarks would you recommend for them, Domenico?
I think it's very important, more important than piano music, than to play piano and piano technique. It is important to be alive, to be in our world, in our time, and to love people. You understand?
Right.
Because we can learn a lot of things. We are more right if we love people.
Right, and then our creativity, right, as a person, will be so much more different than if we were egotistic people, right? Taking more than giving, right? We should give more, probably.
Exactly. The artist is it is difficult for me to speak in English, but it is somebody who take from everywhere and put inside and create some new things with everything he has inside.
Yes. All our experiences go into the creation.
Yes.
So thank you, Domenico, today. Keep creating, keep inspiring your congregation, right? And people around the world when you travel to concert tours to other countries as well. And of course, our listeners are dying to know more about you. So can you give our listeners a link where they can connect with you and find out more about your work?
Yes, the best thing is to look about me, Domenico Severin, on Facebook, and you can discover something.
All right, Domenico, let's spell it Domenico, and Severin is Severin.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. So, Domenico, have a splendid Christmas this year and Christmas celebration in your cathedral. I'm sure you will be performing many Noels, probably, right? And other things. And have a tremendous, amazing 2017 ahead of you.
Thank you very much for this interview.
Amazing. Let's keep in touch and let me know about your next recording project so that we could also share with the world.
Okay, with pleasure.
If you liked this conversation, I encourage you to visit my blog Secrets of Organ Playing at organduo.lt, where you will find lots of insights, practical advice and training for every area of organ playing. You can subscribe to this blog for free to get your daily dose of inspiration and to be the first to know when any of my future podcasts roll out. I hope to help you reach your dreams in organ playing. I'm Vidas Pinkevičius. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you online really soon.